Making time for things isn't about doing more, it's about doing the things that matter to you the most. So how can we clear the distractions, refocus our attention and prioritise our own goals? Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Raina, I'm a 4th year dental student, and in this video we're going to be discussing some insights from one of my favourite books, Make Time by Jake Knapp and John Zeratsky. I read this book about a year ago and I keep coming back to it again and again because it's got so many golden nuggets of information. The authors Jake and John wanted to write a book that kind of goes against the regular philosophy of productivity and time management books. Their goal isn't to do more, but rather to help you spend your time more intentionally on the things that matter to you the most. And that's what I really liked about this book. I didn't feel pressured to be more productive, but I just gained a lot of helpful, practical advice to manage my time. Make Time is based on 4 steps that are repeated every single day: highlight, laser, energize, and reflection. And there are also 87 different tactics in the book to help you make time, allowing you to pick what works best for you and your life. Of course, there are far too many things for me to mention in this single video, so I'll be picking out some key insights that have resonated with me personally and things that I apply to my life now. So if we look at the first step in the book, which is highlight, this is about setting a personal focus or priority, which is your highlight, that you're going to work on for that day. This can be absolutely anything depending on who you are. So you might be a student and your highlight of the day is doing revision for an exam, or you might be a professional and your highlight is working on a presentation or a project. It doesn't need to be complicated or even a work-related task that you need to do. It can simply be something that you want to do, like finding a new recipe and cooking. Also, your highlight doesn't need to be the only thing you do that day, it's just the thing that you spend the most time and energy on. For me at university, my highlight of the day could be watching a certain number of lectures or finishing an assignment or even filming a YouTube video. This highlight is also likely to be the first thing that I work on that day, because for me it's often the most time consuming or challenging task, and in the morning I have the most energy, but for you this might be different. Most likely your highlights will usually be either something very urgent that you need to do that day, or something that you want to do for your own personal satisfaction. There's also several other tactics in the book for deciding your highlight. Another issue is actually making time for your highlight in your day. So tactic number 8, which is scheduling your highlight, is something that has worked particularly well for me. It sounds so simple, but literally the act of blocking off time in my calendar automatically creates time for me to work on my highlight. And one tip here when you're scheduling is to always overestimate the amount of time it takes you to do something. Using this concept of a daily highlight actually stops you from getting distracted by multiple different tasks and helps you to prioritize what you need to do or what you want to do on any given day. Recently, I've actually been recording my daily highlight on my Momentum page when I open up a new Google Chrome tab. This is a great Chrome extension, and I spoke more about this in my top apps and Chrome extensions video, which I will leave a link up here. And basically every time I open a new page up in Google Chrome, it reminds me of what my daily highlight is so I don't get distracted, and it actually motivates me because it makes it really clear what I need to do. This is something that you might find helpful too, or you can record it on a new Notion page or even jot it down on a notepad or a diary. The next step of the 4-part framework is laser, and this is about keeping a laser focus on your highlight of the day. And there are actually many things that can get in the way of this. The book mentions infinity pools and the busy bandwagon as the 2 main sources of distraction for people. Infinity pools mainly come from the constant content that we get from our devices and our apps, and the busy bandwagon is the culture of feeling like we have to constantly stay busy to keep up with everything and keep on top of work and general life. Every single day we are constantly distracted by things around us that stop us from making time for our highlight. For me, this is my phone. I have such a love-hate relationship with my phone, and social media has to be the biggest thing that stops me from making time for my own priorities. It's usually the first thing I check when I wake up in the morning to the last thing before bed, and I know this is a habit that I could really do without. Although I can't say that I don't still do this now, tactic number 19, which is Nick's notifications, has made my phone less of a distraction zone when I do reach for it. This is basically to turn off almost all your notifications, and for me, I've done this for the main social media apps that I use, like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. TikTok is the big one, and to leave kind of the main things like calendar notifications and for me Facebook messaging, WhatsApp messaging for people that actually need to contact me. Even then, for messaging, I've pretty much muted every single group chat that I'm in, and I don't feel like I've missed out on anything necessarily. Like if people really want to get a hold of me, they can ring me, they can text me, and my phone is so much less distracting now. Another part to the laser section is actually finding the focus we need to work on our highlights. For me, tactic number 49 in the book of inventing a deadline is something that I've been doing for quite a while anyway, but it's really helpful in getting work done. This is down to something called Parkinson's law, which says that work expands to fill the time allotted to it. So if a deadline is further away, you're just going to procrastinate more and more till it gets closer. If I really need to focus on my highlights for that day, I will say to myself, okay, I need to get this task done before my 2 p.m. clinics. Obviously it's fine if I don't get it done, but just having that kind of mental deadline really motivates me and pushes me to get it done. Energise is the third step in the book, and it's the idea that we need to look after our physical and mental health in order to maintain energy to work on our highlights and our priorities. Unfortunately, as much as I'd like to sometimes, it's impossible to keep going like a never-ending cog in a machine without proper sleep and food and exercise and interactions with other people. This is an area that I've not been the greatest with in the past year because I'm someone that relies quite heavily on having structure to my own day. So without having university every single day and the gyms being closed, sometimes I've gone through periods of not really keeping up with good sleeping patterns, eating well and exercising, and other times I've done all of these things quite well. It's really difficult to make time for things if you're running on empty, and I think one of the most important ideas mentioned in the book is about exercise, particularly tactic number 62, pound the pavement. Over the past year, one of the things I can reliably count on is being able to get out for a walk, especially when the gyms are closed. The benefits of walking are literally endless, but it's just one of those things that I hadn't really considered before and given much thought to. So now I've been making much more of an effort to get out for at least 20 to 30 minutes a day and going for a walk around my local park. I usually listen to a podcast, and it's made me feel so much better and more refreshed when I come back to working on my daily highlights. The walk really doesn't need to be that long, and I think pretty much everyone can make time for a walk in their day. It's easy, it's free, and it's convenient for most people. There's lots of really other helpful suggestions in the book for ways you can energize and recharge your batteries ready to work on your highlights. Reflect is the last stage of the framework, and this is simply where you look back on your day and note whether you made time for your highlights, what went well, what didn't go so well, and how you can improve for the next day. The book explains that this 4-step process is meant to be a work in progress, so don't beat yourself up if one of the tactics doesn't work for you, just try a different one. For me personally, I keep this reflection part very simple because I don't want it to feel like another task that I need to do at the end of a long day. The book suggests writing down your reflection, but for me right now, I found it best for it to just be a simple thought process. Usually just before I sleep, if I'm not extremely tired, I will think about my day and reflect, think about what went well, what didn't go so well. I think at the moment there's too much friction for me to write down this reflection, but maybe in the future I will consider getting up a blank page in Notion on my phone and quickly typing a few things down before I sleep. Reflection is one of those things that I think we all feel is a bit of a chore, but I really do think it's necessary in order to improve things. In dental school, we are constantly reflecting on our work through feedback books, and if you're watching this, I'm sure you've had to reflect on something in your life as well. All of this is well and good, and you can be presented with all of the tools and tactics, but you need to go away and try out what works best for you and your schedule and your life. Small changes will lead you to noticing that in fact you have made time for things that you want, and it might even feel like you have more time. What works for me may not work for you, but I hope this gave you a really good insight into this book. I 100% recommend reading this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye!